Alright, I had a request to do a thing on clarified butter. I'd love to do it. Anyone that has any requests for anything, let me know. Love it. You want to use unsalted butter. There's reasons for it. Basically, you don't know what you're going to be cooking with, and you want to be able to season it yourself, so you don't want the salt in there. Plus, when you're done, you're going to have a quarter left, or a quarter less density of it, and it's going to be just the pure butter fat. So if it's really salty, it just wouldn't taste good. So unsalted butter. I'm just going to do one stick now. Nice pan. The key to clarifying butter is to cook it very, very slow. Very slow. It takes a while. And what you want to do is get the milk solids and water out of it, so you're left with nothing but pure butter fat. That's basically clarifying butter. Normal butter itself, it burns, I'm sure you're aware, has a very low smoke point. That's because of the milk solids inside of it. The milk solids are what burn. And the water in it really doesn't make a difference, but you just want to, if you have just the pure butter fat, it has a very high smoke point. Well, not very high, but way higher, so you can cook with it and not have to worry about it. And works good. Okay, so I'm cooking this at a very low temperature, medium low. Just basically all you want to do is melt, and then keep it at that low temperature, and eventually the water will boil out. We'll go into that later, but I'll show you some of the equipment. There's basically two different ways of making clarified butter. The one I'm going to show you is the longest one. It takes a lot of time, but you get just a pure butter fat out of it. So I have a silicone strainer here, and it's nice because I can put it in my little container that's going to contain the clarified butter. Inside of that I put cheesecloth. This is cheesecloth. You can pick it up at Ghetto Russ's or any of the Super Savers, anything like that. It's in the area where they have all those little kitchen utensils that you can buy stuff. It's about $2 and you get a good amount. It's wrapped around cardboard. The thing about cheesecloth is it's really porous, and you just fold it over twice, and I'll jam it here in my silicone strainer, and that'll catch all the butter fat, or all the milk solids and other coagulant type stuff. So all that comes out is a pure butter fat. If you don't have a strainer, or you can use if you don't have a funnel, use a strainer and do the same thing. Put it in there. I just have a little bowl there. You can, any container you want, put it in there. It's fine. I have used coffee filters before. Coffee filters are not very porous, and it takes a very long time to strain out, but it works. I've also seen people on the internet use paper towels. Okay, so I've stirred around a little bit, but basically the butter is just melted. I have it on medium low, just a little bit higher. 20 minutes. You just let it sit there at medium low. And what's going to happen is really slowly, some of the water inside of it is going to start bubbling. You hear a crackling. And while you hear that crackling, that's the water coming out of it. And you can see all those milk solids on the top. A lot of clarified butter videos or recipes tell you to skim that off, but we don't need to do that because we're going to strain it out with the cheesecloth, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to let this sit here at a very low temperature for about 20 minutes, and it's just going to work the water out, and eventually we'll be left with just nothing but butter fat with the milk protein solids on the top, and they'll eventually fall to the bottom. But the thing is, if they fell to the bottom and you had it up too high, they'd start to burn. We don't want it to burn, so we just keep it go real low. 20 minutes, it's totally worth it. When we're done, pour it out, we'll have perfect clarified butter. Okay, so this butter's been on for about 10 minutes. And it's not really crackling or bubbling very much, so I'm just going to turn it up just a tiny little bit. Every now and then a little bubble comes in. You can see how the milk solids get really chunky. That's going to make it really easy to strain out. Basically, if you just melt the butter and you get to the point where all these milk solids kind of all chunked up, sit on the top or the bottom, you're pretty much fine. You can clarify your butter then. It'll still have a little bit of water in it. But if you want to keep on going, especially I just saw it kind of flame up there a little bit or bubble up, that's the water coming out of it. So I'm just going to keep on going at this low temp for a little while until all this little bubbling and crackling stops. Hear it? And then I'll use the cheesecloth to strain it out. Okay, it's done. It's boiled and boiled, or well, basically just simmered and simmered until it stopped crackling. And I had to turn it down pretty low. The lower the water gets, it crackles a whole bunch. You only want to slightly crackle to get the water out. It's not necessary to get all the water out. It's pretty good. So that's about 20 minutes at least. You can see all the coagulated proteins. It actually looks more like a foam. They say it's whey foam, but that's fine. So I have my little funnel with my cheesecloth in there. Let's say you don't have cheesecloth. You can pour this into a container and put it in the refrigerator. And then just when it finally settles out, the water will settle the bottom. The butter fat will be in the middle, and there'll be this foam on the top. Just rinse it off in a sink for a little bit. Get rid of all that water, all the foam, and you're fine. You got good clarified butter. So, just gonna separate it out here. There you go.